So GPT 5.5 just got released a few minutes ago, and it might be better than Opus 4.7 according to its benchmarks. And so today we're going to be going through everything, the benchmarks, pros and cons, some very cool things this model does that other models don't do. And by the way, I am Marlon. I live and breathe this AI stuff all day long. Let's first start with why GPT 5.5 is a great model. Obviously, right now, majority of the landscape is now agentic AI. That's where things are going. That's where this space will look drastically different in 6, 12, 2 years from now. A lot of this agentic AI will start to truly take form. And so that's one thing they really push with this model. As you can see here, it understands what you're trying to do faster and can carry more of the work itself. It excels at writing, debugging code, researching online, analyzing data, creating documents and spreadsheets, operating software, and more across tools until a task is finished. Now, these do look a lot like every type of model, right? Even Opus 4.7 is great at debugging, excels at writing, X, Y, and Z. So obviously they are starting to enhance that aspect of the models. The gains are especially strong in agentic coding, just like kind of Opus 4.7, computer use, knowledge work. This is very interesting. We're going to break that down. I love seeing the knowledge work and the GDP valves. So the cool thing about this model as well, it delivers this step up in intelligence without compromising on speed. Larger, more capable models are often slower to serve, but 5.5 matches 5.4 per token latency while performing at a much higher level of intelligence. And as we see here, obviously, they do have the strongest set of safeguards to date designed to reduce misuse while preserving access for beneficial work. We're going to talk about those benchmarks and how they compare to Opus 4.7, because when Mythos had a massive scare within the market, I don't know, we're still unsure whether it's just kind of a marketing tactic by Anthropic to kind of just get more attention. We're not sure what it is. I give them the benefit of the doubt that yes, this is spectacular technology. But when it comes to GPT 5.5, their safeguards outdo the safeguards of Opus 4.7. We're going to talk about that here shortly. So if we look at some benchmarks here, Terminal Bench 2.0, and we'll talk about what this all means. With 5.5, we're at almost 83%. With 4.7, we are at essentially 70%. GDP valve wins or ties. We're going to dive into this because this kind of impacts you and kind of tasks you're doing on a daily basis for work, what that means. This is almost at 85%, and Opus 4.7, as you can see, is at 80%. And then with the Frontier Math Tier 1 and 3, we have it at 51%. Opus 4.7 is at 43%. And then Frontier Math Tier 4, 35%. And over here is 22%. Again, with model capabilities, these things just seem to increase, and it doesn't really seem like there's any stopping it. So welcome to the singularity. But there's a few things to note here. So 5.5 is not just more intelligent, it is more efficient in how it works through problems, often reaching higher quality outputs with fewer tokens and fewer retries. So fewer tokens, obviously everyone, especially if you're using Claude right now, are having a bit of a token crisis. They just don't have the compute currently, and that's kind of obviously bogging down the system. And now everyone's kind of feeling it. Now that just goes to say with their 4.7 release, it is a far superior model, but it also costs more. So if you're already having usage issues, it's tough to then use 4.7. So it's nice to see that 5.5 at least actually gets you higher quality outputs with fewer tokens and fewer retries. Just a better consumer experience. So Terminal Bench 2.0, which tests complex command line workflows requiring planning, iteration, and tool coordination. It achieves a state-of-the-art accuracy of 82.7%. On Sui Bench Pro, which evaluates real-world GitHub issue resolution, it reaches 58.6%. So just some evidence from other early testers. They're suggesting that it is better at the behaviors real engineering work depends on, like holding context across large systems, reasoning through ambiguous failures, checking assumptions with tools, and carrying changes through surrounding code bases. So just look at this. So this is really cool. As you can see, this was a rendered trajectory, which uses the NASA Horizon vector data from Orion, the moon and the sun, with display scaling applied for readability. This is the prompt here. Dungeon game, I think this is really cool. However, now this isn't all just Codex and GPT. Now, it is important to note, senior engineers who tested the model said 5.5 was noticeably stronger than 5.4 and Claude Opus 4.7 at reasoning and autonomy and catching issues in advance and predicting testing and review needs without explicit prompting. So again, pushing towards more of the agentic AI type world we are headed into, where, to be quite clear, you will want more autonomy. Maybe not now because you might be still afraid of it, but you want it to be great at obviously those two things, reasoning and autonomy, and then catching the issues in advance. So on to knowledge work. It's essentially graded on tasks that people do in everyday work. And 5.5 is better than 5.4 at generating documents, spreadsheets, and slide presentations. When combined with Codex computer use skills, 5.5 brings us closer to the feeling that the model can actually use the computer with you. I am very bullish on computer use, no matter if we're with Claude or OpenAI. I think it just needs to get less expensive and a little faster. So today, more than 85% of the company uses Codex every week across functions, including software engineering, finance, communications, marketing, data science, and product management. GPT 5.5 reaches the state-of-the-art performance across multiple benchmarks that reflect this kind of work. So going back to the knowledge work, GDP Valve, which tests agents' abilities to produce well-specified knowledge work across 44 occupations. We did a video months ago about, I believe they created it, and I believe they were just coming out with this eValve, and they were testing it, and it did very well. But now 5.5 scores at 84.9%. So to my understanding, they basically just take, again, 44 occupations, and they take a bunch of tasks that all these individuals in these 44 occupations would be doing, and basically they're going to grade them. We're actually going to look at the chart here. This just means that majority of your work, as this number goes up, obviously this just means that these models can do essentially what you do for work. So some people obviously find that scary, but it just goes to show the capabilities of this model in real world context. So the GDP valve here, as you can see, wins and ties. Majority of it is wins, so it's essentially beating the expert at that task. As you can also see here, industry expert baseline is at 50%. So most of this model here, alongside all the other models, basically maybe not necessarily 3.1 Pro, as we already know, can do most of knowledge work. So I thought this was interesting as well. And anecdotally, from the things I have heard in the science community, a lot of it is coming from the OpenAI side. Like, I haven't heard really stories of someone using Claude Code, for instance, to create a medical breakthrough. A lot of it, for me, I think a lot of it from what I've seen has been from Codex or just OpenAI in general. So as we can see here, the BixBench, a benchmark designed around real-world bioinformatics and data analysis, 5.5 achieved leading performance among models with published scores. The model's scientific capabilities are now strong enough to meaningfully accelerate, listen to this, at the frontiers of biomedical research as a bona fide co-scientist. So let's just touch upon advancing cybersecurity. Obviously, everyone is a little concerned, and obviously Mythos created a massive scare. So 5.5 is an incremental but important step towards AI that can solve some of the world's toughest challenges like cybersecurity. 5.2 got released in December. We proactively deployed the necessary cyber safeguards to limit potential cyber abuse with our models. With 5.5, we're developing stricter classifiers for potential cyber risk, which some users may find annoying initially as we tune them over time. We are treating the biological and chemical and cybersecurity capabilities of GPT 5.5 as high under our preparedness framework, which is great to see. If you recall, Dario Modi, the CEO of Anthropic, wrote a second essay. It's called Adolescence of Technology. I would suggest you read it. You can find it on the internet. One of his main concerns is using AI for, biological warfare, chemical warfare. 5.5 went through our full safety and governance process prior to release, including preparedness evaluations, domain-specific testing, new targeted evaluations for advanced biology and cybersecurity capabilities, and robust testing with external experts. But nonetheless, I will leave you with this. When it comes to kind of the singularity we are in, it's very important to be flexible. I've always said that. Claude's going to win one day, OpenAI is going to win another day, Gemini is going to win another day. So you have to be flexible in nature and hop around and just test various tools. If you found that valuable, please subscribe. Best case, you're going to learn all these tips and learn the world's best technology. Worst case, you get bored and you unsubscribe in the next 5 seconds, 5 minutes, 5 weeks. Does not matter to me. As always, my friends, stay human, and I'll see you in the next one.